So now we're going to add the world price to the domestic markets for Korea and Japan, and that will enable us to actually break down that increase in surplus that we saw in the world market and figure out what's going on individually for the producers and the consumers, because of course we know that trade creates winners and losers, and it's going to be different in both countries. So let's see. If I put the $12 price, it's got to come between 10 and 14. This is kind of tighten this diagram, but this will work out okay. So let's find a nice bright color. We'll try this bright blue. So here's our world price of $12 that we found in the world market, and you can see that that creates an opportunity for exports for Korea, and the goods flow to Japan, and Japanese consumers now enjoy the opportunity to consume more hats for a lower price. So we know that the consumers are happy in Japan, and certainly the producers are happy in Korea. In terms of what's going on though, if you recall, consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve, the willingness to pay curve, and above the price line. So when we put in this new $14 price in the $12, sorry, the $12 price in Japan, you can see that the consumers are probably pretty unhappy because now hats cost more and they buy fewer hats. So we can see that this is the reduction in consumer surplus, but on the other hand, the producers in Korea are happy because now they get to trade at a higher price, and they export to Japan. So you can see the extra trade that's going on there. So in terms of Korea, we've got this section of the surplus that used to belong to the consumers and has now been shifted over to the producers in the form of increased producer surplus. But there is a portion of the increase in producer surplus that is here, and this is a trade triangle, that you can see that it's not simply a redistribution from consumers to producers in Korea, it's actually newly created well-being. So this is the gain from trade. That is a net gain that you saw in that world market that is over and above any redistribution of well-being. So that which the producer gains in Korea exceeds that which the consumer loses in Korea. And then a similar process, but for a different group, applies in Japan. So as a result of the falling price, we have an increase in consumer surplus, and this portion of the increase is merely a redistribution away from producers and towards consumers, but there is a portion of the increased consumer surplus that is over and above merely a redistribution from the producers in Japan, and this little dark triangle here is the gain from trade in Japan. And so your book has this plotted out very nicely in chapter 2. So take a look at your book as well. But this is a very brief description of the gains from trade in the domestic market.